Okay, this is a video about downloading, uh, about gathering things and putting them in a really efficient database uh, and getting things from the internet. Now, in the Google Drive, rearranged it a little bit. Now, if you have this Google Drive, when I make the updates, I don't know, a few months or whatever, the uh, you'll get the new, you don't have to put new links in or anything. You just receive the new file. So that's just how it works. And then I have a set of downloads for commodity price, economic data. That's the one we'll talk about today, exchange rates, interest rates. And then there's another one on stock prices. These are all of the things that vary a lot. They have a lot of variability. Well, economic data might be a little bit less. So here's what I'm going to show you now. Now I have a couple of versions of this. And the main one is a large file. It's a large file. It's about 6 megabytes or so. And opened in a funny way. Okay. And then here's how it works. Now, there are downloading. The last one is Jamaica Youth Unemployment. 2,400 different files, different sheets, not files. And then I have a little introduction, excuse me for the dinging there. And I say, well, this is like a lot of these things. Now, I have been harping on this and nobody watches these videos, whatever. This is what you can do with a few steps with workbooks.open. The process is to modify a URL. And after you modify the URL, you can then put them in these different sheets. And you use the workbooks.open to open each one of the URLs that you created, that you manipulated, that you hacked, whatever you want to call that. And then you can get all of these different sheets. And I want to show you how you can add more companies or add different data series. And here's some of the process again. This one happens to be on the very last one. And we have countries. In this case, we have, I don't know, 55 different countries. Just a drop-down box. And we have 71 different data series. Now, the way this whole thing works, it goes to the Federal Reserve, FR, Economic Database. And from that Federal Reserve Economic Database, each country and each database has a little bit of a series. So, for example, this is something, the weird thing, this is for the youth unemployment. But then you combine it with the name Jamaica, and Jamaica has 3 different symbols, unfortunately, so you have to say, should we put it together like this, or this? You figure out how to put it together, another little challenge. You get the URL, you put this URL in a macro, and you read them all. And then, here is the kind of nice thing. This is the output. So, let's get the GDP. The first thing, let's get the GDP per capita, kind of the real data. And instead of starting in 1973, let's start in 1956. Okay, and let's make absolutely sure that the formulas are on automatic. This takes a little bit of time, and so far you can compare Ghana with Chad and DRC. Let's say I want to put Ethiopia there. So the nice thing is you can just add one out. Oh, Ethiopia didn't have such a history, and you can kind of see the trend, or you can switch it off. Let's compare it with Egypt. And there, Egypt's supposed to still be going up. It didn't even have much of a dip after the revolution. Shows you how this whole business can be crap. Indonesia, we see the effect of the East Asian crisis, and then we'll look at Korea and Botswana and some of the other countries later. I'm not going to put somebody with a really high. Oh, let's put Venezuela here just for a minute. I think they'll have a much higher one. Oh, they have such a higher one, dipped, and whether that's real or not when I hear about these people who live in Venezuela. Okay, so you can just do all of that. Now, if you instead, let's put UK, let's put US and UK and Switzerland. Who's the winner? Switzerland's the winner, I guess. Is that right? Yeah, they're the winner. U.S. is second. They're third. We've got some 2008 crisis, and we can't even see the other ones. But if you instead, and why, let's put China in there too. Maybe we can even start to see China. You hardly see China there. This is, by getting all this data together, this is the kind of stuff you can do. And you can do this with all of the different data series. And then I just put the index instead, and then we get a very different picture. And there's China with this enormous growth. And you want to study, if you're the African countries, you want to study, what did China do? Why can't we do that? Okay, build infrastructure for really cheap coal plants. I don't know what they did. And then you can take China out, and you can kind of see, well, here's the U.S. and Switzerland's somewhere there. Maybe Switzerland's, I don't know where they are. And then you can say, okay, no. Whenever it's an index, we have this problem of the starting point. So let's start here in 1993. Or better yet, let's start in 2007 and let's kind of see who's been growing since then. Then Ghana wins, and after that we have Zambia and stuff like that. So, but if we put Botswana in there, they're the maybe not. Maybe that's because I started way down in 2007. Let's start a little bit earlier, 86. Okay. And there's Botswana, the winner, DRC, the loser. And then you can go to all these things. So let's say, I just want to look at real GDP. Now what happens there is sometimes you have different sets of countries, or you can look at the U.S. exchange rates, and then the data wasn't so good there. I don't know what happened there. And this is kind of cool. You can look at the population growth. And then we have the winner being, Chad. Look at the population growth. And then, of course, UK is on the bottom. And then you can also say, okay, let's look at the population over 65. And then, who's the top? Botswana. Where is UK is over here, and Switzerland, and all that. And Chad is the lowest because they have such a high growth rate. And then you can even look at the fertility. I'm going way too nuts with this, but that's all available for downloading. And you just go up here. I'm showing my other website. Sorry about that. And you go to this one called databases, and you just download it. And it's down here. And I've got all the databases kind of with a little explanation. Okay, now I wanted to put this in Power BI and kind of show the picture of the world map and all that. I've got to ask my son to help me with this. I didn't get it to work really. Now I just want to show you a couple of other things about this. Okay, number one. Before we get finished. Look, if it's even got like government revenues to GDP. Now, if you have that, you certainly don't want an index. You just want the raw value. It turns out that you can do so much. Oh, that wasn't very interesting. What happened to Chad? How about the interest on debt compared to the GDP? Oof. Oh, UK is the winner, and Switzerland. I'm wondering if this is an index again. Sorry about that. Okay, there's the raw value. Then, Egypt and Ghana have kind of some problems. Notice that it didn't get all the data even. Okay, and then you can even put something like I want to talk about this. You can put the provision. How about this? The net. No. Where is our? Just a minute. Our covering my mouth. The interest margin that banks have, and then you can see kind of the interest rates you charge for loans, and these are some high interest margins. These are the interest margins, I suppose, because the non-performing loans are so high, and you can get all those. And I didn't put the index in. Now, the way this all works is it's all our two things. Our workbooks start open plus a this is a database of series. I had to choose a couple things to determine what to use, but it's all working because you've got all those spreadsheets. It all works with this one little thing, in lookup and indirect. You look up on the year, everything's tied to a year. You have to do a little bit of things to make sure you have the right year to start with. And then these things are all tied to the country you select. Okay, now if you can say, why did you waste my time? Why did you not? I got to show this for a second again. Why did you not go to Fred? And why did you not, once you go to Fred, why didn't you just do this by hand? So this is this. Why didn't you just go to category, and then you go down to international data, and they have 100,000 series, 100,000 series. 82,000 indicators. What are they? I don't even know. And then you can get, let's get it for Angola, 160 different series. And why don't you just put this in? Well, I hope you can see. Here's what you can see. Do you see this little thing right here? And you see where it says AGO? That must be Angola. And then they have the infant mortality rate going down. Now, if you wanted to compare that to somebody else, okay, and you wanted to go down to Armenia, they might or might not have the thing. You could kind of go and try to find that. But, first of all, it'll take a pain. And then you could go, and I think there's even a thing where you can download. I think there's even some kind of program where they give you something to do, but you don't have full flexibility. You don't have full control. So for Armenia, you'd have to find ARN for Armenia. And what you do is you just realize that the URL is just with these little things. So you just have to manipulate the URL. And instead of downloading it each time and going by hand, it's something very repetitive that you want to do in a macro. And you want the flexibility to choose whichever one you want. Okay? And so if you want to then go back and, excuse me for kind of my slurp, sorry. Oh, God. I hate listening to these. And I have some error trapping for this stuff. But if you would want to go to a new country code, I've got some examples. Now, I just said, let's take Ghana, because I was, let's just take GDP. Let's take GDP per capita. And you notice that the GDP per capita is NY GDP. Why it's NY, I don't know. And then it says somewhere Argentina, ARG. But then when you look at the population for Argentina, population total Argentina, if you look at here, it says ARA. It's got a different country name. What a pain. So you take and you split these things up. Now, if you wanted to add another country, you just have to go to that Fred website and kind of put something down, and this is just doing a little right, left, and all that stuff, and mid, and all that stuff to find the country names. And then you have the data series. And the data series is kind of the same thing. Sometimes here's inflation for India. So IND is somewhere right at the end. So you just have to take this first part and create a URL out of that. That's a pain, I know, but I did that for you, okay? And then you do all of this. Now, once you read all of these in, and the process is, step one, figure out the URL. Step two, use the workbooks.open. Step three, copy the separate sheet into this sheet and do a little bit of text to columns. And then step four is once you get all these in, it's the indirect function. Those are the steps. We can write them in. And finally, there's this error trapping stuff that I hate, and because sometimes it tries to read the URL and doesn't find it. So all I did is in the loop, I put all the ones that don't get read, and then what you'd have to do is figure out, can I find another series that makes it, that allows you to read it, and all this. And you can go even further, and the reason I have multiple population ones is I said sometimes the URL would work for one country and not for another one. So you can put multiple URLs for the same series. That's what this thing does. I'm going back too far around. If you look at the data series, for example, population has multiple things. So you try it first. If it doesn't work, you try the second one. If it doesn't work, you try the third one, blah, blah, blah. And then the graph takes the first one that works. That's the way. If you put exactly the same name here and want to try it, so you can insert a line and just try your increased URLs. One final thing. So once you go to these things, maybe two final things, okay? So you go to these things, and when we did, so we read it in, and then we had to do a text to columns to get the date in one column. It's always the date in the first column. That's really nice, in the series in the second column, and then you can look up on the date and get the series. Okay, and then if you press Shift Control F, it's just a little macro, and all this macro does, I should have put the formulas on. Okay, I set the formulas to manually Shift Control F, that's what it says on the bottom, and then it just goes, it's just a simple little macro that all it does is says whenever there's a space, just put it together, and then it says, okay, the GDP is the gross domestic product. You can go to the menu sheet, and then you can go down. This is just in the macro, I create a little hyperlink. That's not very hard. And once you create a little macro in the hyperlink, let's say I want to look at Indonesia for the CPI, Shift Control F, and then it says kind of where it got it from and all of that stuff. So there's a little bit of documentation. And let's do one more. So if you go down now, that Shift Control F, you can look, I think the best thing to say about these is you can look at the file and look in the macros. I'm not trying to really teach you macros in this thing. So you can open the file, get it from the Google Drive or the spreadsheet, and then you have it all, okay? And I think it's a kind of, I'm just, I told you that I'm old. I can't imagine when I was young like you being able to get this data and just kind of go nuts with this stuff. I wanted to show you how to do some statistical analysis, but really statistics, I can't get the word out. That boils down to effectively summarizing data. And if you can do the statistics with a graph, and you can get some implication, and do we still have Botswana? We can try to figure out what made Botswana be able to have the success that other people have. Maybe, I shouldn't say this, maybe I have to put the calculations back to this one. Maybe they just, and let's take Switzerland out and study some of these things, okay? So maybe they just manipulate the way they compute the GDP. Maybe they have a low population and a whole lot of diamonds. I don't know. We better take US and UK out of here too. Okay. And so you can see, why were they able to do this? And when did it really start? And let's go and study this country. Okay, and if you don't want to study Botswana, you can say, let's take some other famous ones. And if you're kind of a central banker or something, maybe I would say, let's take Singapore, or let's see what happened to Singapore and see how far back we go. The interesting thing is, I think, if you go back far enough, they didn't have that different GDP than some of the other ones. Okay? Certainly, if you compare Singapore to Switzerland, okay. Switzerland's a lot higher, but how did they do that? Or how did South Korea, or do I just have it Korea? Is that just, perhaps that's just Korea? And obviously there's another video on how to make these silly little true falses, and I used to use the list box here, so I still have my old list box because I was so sad that it didn't work with Excel, and now it works better with Excel. So actually Singapore did a little bit better than Korea, and we can even compare China to that and see, where's China? China's nothing compared to those two. Interesting in terms of per capita income. And I think that's enough of this video. So au revoir.